Are you wondering why people are suggesting sex without orgasm? Is it not making sense to you? Or are you curious and you just want to learn? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you what I have learned about Karezza and bonding-based lovemaking in my journey over the last 4 years. And by the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of why sex without an orgasm might be better for you and how it can save your marriage. For the best intimacy and relationship advice, hit subscribe and the bell on my channel so that you can get notified every time I publish a new video, which right now is every Friday. Before we dive into the content, let me know what your biggest questions are around Karezza, orgasm sex, bonding-based lovemaking. What are your thoughts? What are your biggest questions? Put them in the comments. I actually look at them and I will reply to them. So my own story is that I always felt like I wasn't really lucky in love. I had lots of relationships, but they would start out great and then they would deteriorate and it would break my heart. It was terrible. Because I felt like I was having Groundhog Day over and over. I would start out great with these people that seemed great, and then things would just deteriorate. And I had a prayer in my heart that God would bring me a solution. I wanted nothing more than having a functioning relationship and being able to be a great partner. And I've had it in the past, and that ended for a different reason, not for the reason that we weren't compatible. It was just life circumstances. So I know it's possible. It's possible to have paradise and it's possible to have harmony. And it was just so mind-boggling to me and such a mystery to me that why couldn't two people that say they love each other, why couldn't they figure it out? And then as luck would have it, or as life would have it, a good friend of mine who knew that I was very much into exploring relationships and helping myself and others with relationships handed me this book. It's called The Cupid's Poison Arrow. That was 4 years ago, or even over 4 years ago. And when I read this book, it just made so much sense to me. So Marnia Robinson, who wrote this book, basically had a similar experience where she went through relationship after relationship and they would all implode. She simultaneously went on a path of also exploring ancient texts around sexuality and sacred sexuality. And she started having a feeling, and obviously that's me telling her story, from what I've learned from her in her book, is that there might be a correlation between the way we make love and our relationships deteriorating. And so she spent 16 years gathering material, finding evidence, having her own experiences with this theory, the theory being that we have actually two programs for lovemaking. One is contributing to closeness and harmony, and one contributes to disharmony, disruption, and the failure of our relationships. So what Marnia has found through her research is that there's lots of evidence in neuroscience and other fields that show that when we engage in sex that includes orgasm, several things happen. First of all, we go on a hormonal roller coaster because dopamine gets released. Dopamine is super addictive. And so instead of really wanting to be close and being intimate with people, what we truly want and what our brain wants is the dopamine high. And essentially it has nothing to do with love, and this is my view and my experience from playing with this for the last 4 years. It really has to do with our brain wanting to get a quick fix. And so it has nothing to do with love and sacred sexuality and intimate connection. In a sense, we get it through the intimate connection, but for me, when I still have orgasms, I definitely feel a big dip afterwards and a disconnection, and I see my partner differently. So basically what the research that Marnia found shows is that when we have a dopamine high, we go on a 2-week downward spiral afterwards, hormonally speaking, neurochemically speaking. And because our hormones affect the way we see ourselves, the way we feel, and the way we see the world, it affects how we see our partner. And generally, we after an orgasm, we don't see the world through rosy colored glasses. We see it a little bit more tainted and much more negative because our energy and our well-being drops, so we feel more depressed and more low, and so all of a sudden we find fault. We focus on the one thing that might be not perfect about our partner, right? We're all not perfect. We all have imperfections, but when this shift occurs, the hormonal shift, all of a sudden we laser in on that one thing that we don't like about our person, and then we create fights. And this is coming from my own experience. I'm not just repeating what she's saying in the book. So I've noticed this in myself and in my own relationships. To the contrary, when we engage in bonding-based lovemaking, or Karezza as it's also called, from the Italian word caress, and not have orgasm, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have pleasure. It's very pleasurable, actually, but the brain doesn't get the dopamine high, and therefore also not the low that ensues, and therefore you and your mood stays balanced. You basically are the same person from one day to another, not a different one. Not one day you're super happy and the next day you're like, leave me alone kind of person, or I fall apart and I'm just totally weeping and crying and kind of like a poor me kind of a person when I fall apart. So when you engage in procreation-based sex, you get on the dopamine cycle, you get on a roller coaster, there's fighting, arguing, and it's very draining, not just for our physical body, but for our emotional body as well. When we engage in the bonding-based lovemaking, we don't have the fallout. We stay stable and we stay positive. So that's why Karezza might be the thing that will save your marriage. Now, when people come to work with me, I have a program that's called the Blissful Marriage Method, where, among other things, I teach people how to transition into practicing bonding-based loving in Karezza. It's not that easy, because depending on how much past trauma you have, how much you've used sex and orgasm to soothe yourself and to suppress your emotions, unless you work on those things first. And funnily enough, or interestingly enough, the way you suppress your emotions and the way you work with allowing yourself to have what you want and so forth, and having your desires, has also a connection to food. So when I work with people, we work actually on all these levels with the intention of you learning to be in your body and be home with yourself. That's the first step. When you can do that, then it's easier to transition into bonding-based lovemaking, because your brain has already learned to not use food to suppress emotions, or to not use any other method to suppress emotions. Your brain will have learned to, or you will have learned to allow yourself your emotions. So that's kind of like a precursor to really being able to making it work. Once you've learned to really allow your emotions, and that doesn't mean expressing them and projecting them onto other people and causing more problems. It just means you've learned to let yourself feel them. Then it's much easier, in my experience and in my own experience. I've had to do this. And when I work with people, it's much easier to then transition into the bonding-based lovemaking, because sex doesn't serve as repression or suppression mechanism anymore. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this is giving you some idea. You can check out all the other videos on my channel around recreating intimacy, reconnecting, hormonal imbalances, feminine energy secrets. It's all connected, learning to be with your emotions. I've created a Facebook group called Creating a Blissful Marriage, where we talk about these topics, because oftentimes you can't just talk about this in public, right? It's a delicate subject. I've also created a 5-step masterclass where I go into more depth into the 5 steps it really takes to reconnect and create a blissful, physically, mentally, emotionally satisfying, sacred union with your lover. The links to the Facebook group and the masterclass are in the description below. If you want to talk to me, I do free consults. If you want to know how you can transition, or if you have other questions around Karezza, or reconnecting your relationship and making it better, feel free to book a session with me. I'm always happy to share with you. Subscribe if you like this video so that you can get more. Watch these related videos. Hit the like button to like this video. Comment. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you in the next video. All my love to you. Bye bye.